In that spirit, we gather into worship today. We're going to sing together, There's a River Flowing in My Soul, which is hymn number 1007, 1007 in the teal hymnal. And before we raise our voices together, I invite you to take a moment and greet those around you. If you see a face you don't recognize, please make a special effort to let that person know that they are welcome today.
The strength of water takes on many, many forms, just as each of you has a unique and necessary strength that you bring to our community and to the work of love. Take a moment now to drop down into the deep wellspring of your own spirit and bathe yourself in the strength that is the groundwater of your person. Are you a roaring waterfall wearing rock away with sheer force of will? Are you a tiny drop of water in a crevice, breaking it open slowly, steadily? Are you buoyant like a great salt lake practiced at holding others aloft? Are you tenacious like the mountain stream, finding your way down and around every obstacle you face? Are you still and calm like the pond at daybreak, offering radiant peace by your shores? Are you in touch with hidden depths, pulling from a vast well? Do you soothe like the steam rising from a cup of tea? Do you dissolve away stubborn muck like water left in a pot to soak? Do you soften and smooth the edges like a creeping fog? Do you clear away distraction like a cleansing rain? Do you roll with the ebb and flow like the ocean waves? Settle your mind upon the strength, the power that is yours. Draw that strength into your heart, draw it up into your soul. As we gather together the many waters of this community, we need each of your power, each of your resilience, each of your love to make us whole.
Throughout the summer, we have been talking about all of the different parts of us, the parts of us that are fire, the parts of us that are like earth, the parts of us that are spirit, the parts of us that are safe, even though we don't always feel that way, the parts of us that are powerful. And today, as we move across the threshold of summer into our autumn, we think about the parts of ourselves that are like water. So inspired by this reading, what part of you is water? Is there a part that you connect with that seems like that element of water in some way? It could be a lot of different things. There were a lot of different possibilities in that reading. Does anybody have a part of themselves they identify as like water? Yes, Meg. Always find a way around. Yeah. What else? If you're joining us online, by the way, I should have said this up front. You can put what parts of you are like water in the comments as well. You're not excluded from this. We want to hear what parts of you are like water too. Yes. A crier, yeah. Movies, people, it just leaks out. It just happens. Emotions. Yeah. A crier, yeah. Emotions are an important way that we communicate with ourselves, right? And being able to express that freely is a strength. Yeah. You're writing. It just starts flowing like water. Yeah. Was there something up here? Yes.
The older I get, the more I feel it flowing downhill.
The older you get, the more you feel like you're flowing downhill. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I
Could take the shape of any.
like take the shape of whatever I need to survive.
Whatever you need to survive. Yeah. Yeah. Your emotions can be like different states of water, liquid, solid, gas. They can move, change form. Yeah. There might be some things that you, yeah, Judy? You're a river that connects with other rivers, and then you go off and then connect with other. Yes, yeah, tributaries and streams flowing into each other. There might be parts of yourself that you name as water that seem like something we need to survive, something we need to preserve or protect. As our musicians begin playing some music for our reflection, I invite you to think about the water that you have brought with you today. And if you didn't bring water with you today, it's okay. We've got a pitcher here. This is surrogate water for anybody that did not bring water with them. But as we begin to hear the music of ripples, I invite invite you to think about either the water you've brought or the water that you will pour into the bowl. And think about what strength within you that water represents. And if you're not thinking of the part of you that is water as a strength, what might be necessary for you to shift that so that you recognize the parts of you that are water as strength that you have to offer the world? We take a moment for reflection.
That was lovely. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jenny Papp. As Amy mentioned, I am your newly minted Director of Lifespan Faith Development, yours in this congregation. Water communion, that is our uniquely Unitarian Universalist tradition and ritual. It's ours, it's part of our heritage. And I would like to share with you a little bit about where that came from and the significance of that. A little later, we're going to share this together and put our drops of water that have special meaning and that nourish us into this bowl, including maybe some water from past water communion ceremonies. Literally, water communion, the coming together of water. So, an origin story. I have a son who's deeply into the cartoon universes, superhero universes. So an origin story. And I think it's important to be reminded when we do these unique rituals and do these things as to what they are. So, I'd like you all to reach in your pockets, get your time machine out, and turn the dial. We're going to go back a little bit, about 45, 50 years to the 1970s. And I would like to let you know that in the 1970s, there were some women who were doing some protesting. They were rallying together to change the way that they were being treated in politics. Did any of you do this? The way they were being treated in the world, economically, in the workplace. Did you carry protest signs? Raise your hand. Did you carry protest signs? Okay, sure. I remember this as a little girl when my mother, who had 4 children, could not necessarily walk in the streets with protest signs. But what she did do is she went to volunteer and work at Planned Parenthood. And she took me along with her as a small child. And she went back to college to take night classes. And I remember that one time, this wasn't at the college, but she took a class that was to learn more about how to take care of her own car. And she came home from that with a bumper sticker that said WOW, and that stood for Women on Wheels, which my older brother promptly turned over and said, "Look, it says Mom if you turn it over." Yeah. So, in this time, there were women who were also realizing that our beloved Unitarian Universalist faith was also complicit and a culprit in just holding women back from fully participating in their faith choice, in their religion. And so during this time, they gathered together and supported one another. And they wrote what became known as the Women and Religion Resolution, and that passed. It's a very long process to get these things going, but in our National Assembly in 1977, the Women and Religion Resolution passed. Anybody remember that? Okay. And what that challenge was, and still is, because it hasn't expired, is that, in short, to examine our assumptions and our prejudices and our most basic ideas, in particular in reference to gender and women in our faith. So let's get your time machine back out. We're going to shift our dial a little bit further into the late 1970s, maybe the early 80s. And after that resolution, we were challenged to look at that stuff as a faith. And as a result of that, some of the things that happened was maybe some of the words in our songs changed, some of the gendered language was changed in our bylaws as well, and in the music. In 1985, our principles that are in our bylaws were revised. There were 7. There are 7, the top 7, as you generally know them now, were what became in 1985, almost 40 years ago. They held on long and hard. As part of the process leading up to 1985, though, the words weren't the only things that changed. Their ideas were changing too, right? And there were countless meetings, spiritual explorations, worship service, all of these things to help them look through what was this transformation, these changes that we needed to be working on. And one of those was a UU gathering in 1980 in Michigan. I think it was in Lansing. And it was called the Convocation on Feminist Theology. People came from all over the country. Did anyone attend that? It wasn't too far away. Okay. I wasn't. But to honor the journeys to this meeting from all over, there was the very first ceremony of water sharing. See, I got there. The very first water sharing was in a ritual, in a worship service that was called Coming Home Like Rivers to the Sea. And we have some rivers here today. Who has their rivers with us? Look around. We've got some rivers, right? Well, I have to put mine down a second, but leave your rivers flowing. See your flowing rivers. From the mouth, so in this worship service, from the mouth of the Mississippi, from the Atlantic, and from the Pacific, the women and the waters came. From the mountains and the deserts, from the rivers and the streams, from drops of rain, women and water came. So in a circle worship, hundreds of women in a circle worship sang. They listened to each other's stories. They listened to the waters as they fell. They came forth with their water, the waters that they brought with them from all over the land, and they mingled them in a great earthenware bowl, not so different from our lovely glass bowl that we have here. They had come on a great pilgrimage as Unitarian Universalist people, and they had happy hearts and a melody of peace, but also a melody of resistance and strength, because water is strong. Water creates change across our land, and they were coming home together. So, as Unitarian Universalist congregations everywhere have taken this ritual now, born in 1980, and they reimagined it countless ways. It's so delightful if you've ever been to various UU congregations and see how our wonderful traditions get interpreted throughout. But it's always returning to the idea of merging our journeys, our faith journeys, our stories, our intentions, sharing what nurtures us and bringing it home. Spirits of water exist in raindrops, in the clouds, in the air we breathe, in the veins of the trees, in every rainbow, in every tear we share for joy or for grief, and in the rivers, streams, puddles, the vastness of the oceans, we still have water. We literally are water, right? Today's service, I am water. We live on a ball of water in a pulsating, breathing, and alive universe. So now get your time machines. Let's turn them back or forward. Bring yourselves back 2024 as we gather together in our ongoing stream of time in our Unitarian Universalist faith. And we begin our year together once again. Thank you.
This week, our offering will go to benefit the FDR School. We're starting our 9th year of partnership with FDR with a bang. You can learn more details about this by visiting the link on our website for more details than what I'll share with you. In general, our role has changed with the needs each year, but has included several buckets of support. Those include tutoring, incentives for attendance. Last year we provided pizza for the grade bands with the highest attendance each month, and we're going to do that again this year. The principal noted how wonderful it is that we consistently provide the promised incentives, an action which truly fosters trust between us. Volunteering, we volunteered to help make scenery, costumes, provide coaching for Disney musicals, working with staff and students to create an 8th grade yearbook. We've donated needed items such as warm clothing, school supplies. We've done fundraising for school uniforms, the 8th grade yearbook, a Washington, D.C. trip for 8th graders. We've developed a really good, trusting relationship with the leadership and many of the teachers at FDR. Some of our members that are ringleaders are Pam Gibbon, Mary Ellen McNulty, Becky Burns, and Lori Albright. Currently, and congregants have helped with stuffing bags and all of the activities listed above. So we've had a nice, long, meaningful history with FDR and hope to continue that. And to that end, we invite you to make an offering by cash or check made payable to UUCC in the collection plate as it's passed, or you can also contribute via our Cash App to $UUCC 44122, and on the memo line you can indicate today's date and our plate recipient, the FDR School. Please give generously within your means.
So close your eyes, oh that's a lovely way to be, aware of things your heart alone was meant to see. The fundamental loneliness goes whenever two can dream a dream together. You can't deny, fight the rising sea. Don't fight the moon, the stars above, and don't fight me. The fundamental loneliness goes whenever two can dream a dream together.
Vou te contar, já não podem ver coisas que só o coração pode entender. Fundamental é mesmo amor, é impossível ser feliz assim. Vou te contar, os olhos já não podem ver coisas que só o coração pode entender. Fundamental é mesmo amor, é impossível ser feliz sozinho. O resto é mar.
A glass of tea sweats a circle of droplets on an old table. Drying, they pull dirt and stain from the wood, leaving a ring. Water makes its mark. Deep in the earth, in a cave, a drop falls each minute. Where it lands, a great pillar of white rock has grown up. Water makes its mark. On the surface above, a stream burbles and flows, carving out potholes in the granite of its bed. Water makes its mark. Along a highway cut, a geologist points out the layers of a tan slate, each penny-thin sheet, the memory of a torrential rainstorm eons ago. Water makes its mark. In its networks of veins, the blood, salty like the seawater from which we sprang, flows on in cycles, giving life. Water makes its mark. The dark clouds pass on, yielding no rain. Crops wither and drought comes. Famine, migration, violence, and death soon follow. Water makes its mark. A space probe turns its camera toward whence it came, imaging one solitary pixel of light, its color the pale blue of oceans. Water makes its mark. A solitary tear slides down the cheek, a tear of abiding joy, a tear of unending grief. We see and share the depth of feeling at its true core. Water makes its mark.
It's amazing what water does in our world, and what a lack of water does in our world. There's a place in Ireland called Newgrange. It's one of the oldest passage tombs. It's a very special kind of place that's oriented toward where the sun rises on one of the significant dates, the winter solstice, and it illuminates a very particular place there. And it's existed, and they've kind of done a lot of work around there. But there's a place not far from that. I mean, it's just agricultural land for a lot of that space around it. And several years ago, I think it was 2018, Ireland experienced a severe drought. And so a lot of the crops suffered. There was a reporter who had a drone who would take up and get some overhead shots of the agricultural land so that you could see the effect on the crops from the drought. And not too far from Newgrange, he noticed a weird phenomenon. Some of the crops in a particular field were this bright, vibrant green. The rest of the crops were kind of this drier-looking yellowish shade. But the crops that were this vibrant green were in a formation. It looked like what you would see if there was a stone boundary and one of those passage tombs. Stark contrast from the rest of the fields. And so he talked to the farmer of those fields and said, what is there? And the farmer said, nothing is there. There's no difference between the land here and there, but these crops are in this vibrant shade that indicated something had been there at one point in time. The crops in those particular spots where stones had been, where a structure had been, were being nourished in some way. There was some amount of nutrient, there was some nourishment that allowed them to thrive even in the midst of that drought, because the soil there was different. Maybe the soil in the rest of the field had been packed down and over centuries of time. I don't know. I'm not that kind of scientist. I don't do that kind of thing. But there are people who are examining what is it about that allowed these crops to thrive in this particular place where something had been to survive this drought. Once the crops were cut down, there was no difference. You couldn't tell at all. The only place that was visible was from overhead, looking down while the crops were growing, and afterwards there's no indication that anything is different on that field. And so it got me thinking, if I were to send a drone up over my life and take a look down at those fields, where would there be this vibrant green of nourishment that reflects the things that I am tending and caring for, watering, feeding? And what would the rest of the field be? What are the places in my life that I am not tending, that are malnourished, that might need a little more nourishment from me? And maybe if you are willing, you will send that drone up. We've got all kinds of technology. We've got time machines. We've got drones. We've got all kinds of stuff today. If you're willing, maybe you would send a drone up over your life and take a look and see, where are those vibrant spots in your life that are well nourished and thriving? And what are the parts of your field that need a bit more from you? And in our water ceremony today, we might also send a drone up over the life of this community. What are the bright spots in the field of this community where things are thriving and well-nourished, vibrant with life? And what are the places, I know we pretend there aren't any, but what are the places that may be a little malnourished, that need a little more attention from us, that need our communal, collective tending so that those places can thrive? As we come forward today to mingle our waters in a common bowl, you've thought about the strength that your water represents. It might represent a lot of other things too. It might represent a lot of things that you carry with you into this community. But as we pour those waters together in our common vessel, I hope that you are able to name something that you are committed to nourishing in the year ahead. And if you look on the back of your order of service, or it's right around this spot in the order of service if you are tuned in online, there is a QR code. It's not the one on the insert. That's about our musicians. That's amazing, and you should read all about them. But there's one on the back of the order of service that is an opportunity for you to put down a commitment to what you're tending. You don't have to put your name to it, but you can just put in there what it is that you are committed to tending, either in your life or the life of this community in the year ahead. If you don't do QR codes, there's another little option there. You can just go to that website, slido.com, and there's a 7-digit code. I'm not going to read out the code. It's on your stuff. But you can put that in, and you can enter a word. That'll start creating a word cloud for us. My hope is that we can take all of those words and make a little poster or a big poster for the fellowship hall so that we see what it is that we are nourishing this year as a community. You can take a minute to do that now, or you can take a minute later on and go to that QR code, to that site. But part of what we do in water ceremony is acknowledge in a very visceral way that we bring who we are into community with one another. This is water from last year's water ceremony. Each year we take the water from the water ceremony and we purify it, we boil it down and strain it and all of that stuff, and then we use it in child dedications and house dedications and some other rituals throughout the year, and we save a little bit to begin the next year's water ceremony. There could be water in here from a lot of water ceremonies past, because once you mingle it together, it's all this. You can't separate your water out once you pour it into the bowl. It's all part of the same water. And so we begin with the blessings of our history, the blessings that have gotten us to where we are today, the waters that have nourished us in the past. We also have some people who are absent today and have provided water. This is from the Yu family. Carol and Mika Yu, I think, have provided this for us. And I don't know where it's from, and I don't know its story. So you will have to talk to them and find out, what does your water represent It represents some strength that they carry and some strength that they are nourishing this community with. And so we put it into our common bowl. We also have people who are traveling, and I see a couple of things in our Joys and Concerns book today. I'm going to use our surrogate water for those. This weekend, Steve, Ann, and Jeff Sanford are in Norfolk, Virginia, celebrating the promotion of son and big brother Duncan to Commander Sanford. As far as he knows, Duncan is the only naval aviator who is a fifth-generation Unitarian Universalist. So, celebration of that. And we are also lifting up the family and friends of 18-year-old Christian Thomas, who was killed by police on August 29th in Cleveland Heights. That goes into our common bowl too. All of it. And so, as we hear music that reminds us of the seaside, I invite you to come forward and mingle your waters with the waters of this community. If you didn't bring water with you, I invite you to pour a little bit from the pitcher. If you brought water with you and for some reason you're feeling like you're not able or confident coming forward to pour it in the common bowl, you can pop your hand up and either an usher or I will make sure your water gets into the common bowl. But I invite you to take a moment and think about what it is that this water, this strength of yours, will nourish in the year ahead. I invite you to come forward.
Beira do mar, lugar comum, começo do caminhar, pra dentro do fundo azul. Beira do mar, todo mar é começo do caminhar, pra dentro do fundo azul. A água bateu, o vento soprou, o fogo do céu, a paz do Senhor. Tudo isso vem, tudo isso vai pro mesmo lugar, de onde tudo sai. Beira do mar, lugar comum, começo do caminhar, pra dentro do fundo azul. Beira do mar, todo mar é começo do caminhar, pra dentro do fundo azul. A água bateu, o vento soprou, o fogo do céu, a paz do Senhor. Tudo isso vem, tudo isso vai mesmo lugar de onde tudo sai. vento soprou, o fogo do céu, a paz do Senhor. Tudo isso vem, tudo isso vai pro mesmo lugar de onde tudo sai.
I want to know how you all timed that perfectly to end when the music ended. You must have together. I love the different ways that people invite their water to be mingled with the rest of this water. Some people poured a little bit from a vessel and left some for themselves, held on to some. That's okay. We need to nourish ourselves too. We can't pour it all into community. Some families came up and they had a designated person to pour things. Some families had creative ways of making sure everybody's hand was on the vessel when it got poured. Some people wanted to pour water into this first before it went into the bowl, which I found charming and extra challenging. I don't know. Sometimes we add a little more challenge than we need to when it comes to what we make a commitment. Some people just poured a little bit of water, and that's okay. If that represents, I'm willing to commit to nourishing a little bit really intentionally, there is nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing to be able to say, this I can hold, and if I can wind up with more on my plate later on and that feels okay, that's all right, but this I can commit to. That's much better than committing to way more than we can possibly do. And when it all gets added together, this is a pretty full bowl of water. It's a pretty full community when we all commit to its thriving and its well-being and its nourishment. And so, since we are Unitarian Universalists, we don't have this thing where there's a special person with a collar that's the only person allowed to bless things. We are a community of a priesthood. So we are going to bless our water together with words from Reverend Allison Palm. It's on the insert that you have in your order of service. It's the part that says water blessing. If you don't like reading all the words together, I'll just alert your attention that there's this common beginning of these lines that says, we bless this water and our community. If you want to feel a bit renegade, you can just say that part when we get to it. But if you're willing, I invite you to say the whole thing as we bless this water together. This water represents our church community, a community of welcome. We bless this water and our community with abundance. May we always know that we are enough and we have enough for all. We bless this water and our community with courage. May we stand bravely in the face of injustice. May we step boldly into the unknown. We bless this water and our community with wisdom. May we know when to speak and when to listen. May we be ready and willing to learn from one another. We bless this water and our community with joy. May we take pleasure in being with one another. May we remember to laugh and sing. We bless this water and our community with love. May we always know, no matter how hard life gets, that we are not alone. May it be so. It is not the ringing of the bell that makes the magic happen. And it is not just the saying of these words in this moment that blesses this water and our commitments. It is the lived commitment in all of the days that follow that bless this water and our community with all of the things that we have named. And so, in that spirit of community and collaboration and journeying together, I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing together, Blue Boat Home. It is hymn number 1064 in the Teal hymnal. We have a potluck today. Hopefully you knew that. If you didn't know that, it's okay. Still stick around. There's food. I don't know how much food because I haven't seen it in the last hour and 15 minutes or so. But if you brought food in and just put it down on a table and didn't take stock of what the room looked like and just kind of wandered on your way, you may want to move whatever you brought to the appropriate table. There are signs. Desserts and salads and side dishes, and I think mains are up close to the kitchen. So if you brought something that may have just gotten tossed someplace, you might want to carefully place it at the right spot, or don't, and I mean, people will find it. If you brought something that you feel like needs to be reheated or heated up a little bit before you serve it, I invite you to go on downstairs now and do that. Some people brought it crock pots and they're plugged in and everything is fine, but I know sometimes you bring something that you want to heat up a bit. So I invite you to do that now. And please do plan to stay for a few minutes afterward to help clean up and set the room back the way it could be. Last year when people stuck around, it took just a few minutes because everybody stuck around and did a little bit. And so I'm entrusting that to you all to care for one another and our space the same way today that you did last year with our potlucks. Wednesday night supper, anybody can sign up to do this. We've got our Sign Up Genius. It is in the newsletter. You just go on there and you pick a date and you say, I'm going to bring supper. If people don't sign up, then we don't have supper. And so it's a matter of whether you want to have supper together or not, and it's up to you. Your group can do this. You can get your covenant group or your small group to team up together and provide a meal, and it can be really simple. We usually have in the mid-20s. Last week it was a little bit lighter. The week before that it was 30. So, we'll make it work. But it's around 20-ish people. We've got forums starting next Sunday morning at 9. We've got Jim Scott coming for a special musical presentation on September 22nd. We've got the Climate Justice Revival happening September 28th and 29th. All of that information is in your newsletter. Exciting stuff happening over the next few weeks in September. And we've got Journey Spiritual Development small groups starting in just a couple of weeks on Wednesday evenings. So if you are not yet registered for that, send me an email. I'll get you on the list for that. And if for some reason Wednesday nights don't work for you and you still want to do the Journey stuff, I've already heard from one person that they really would prefer to do like an online thing. And I said, well, if we have critical mass, we'll explore that. But right now, it's one person. So if you're in that category, send me an email and let me know, and we'll see what we can make happen with that. Lots of other things in your newsletter, so I invite you to check that out. We conclude our service today with these words from Kaylee Rice. It starts with a drop, and then a trickle, a burble, a rush of water, bubbling toward its destination, and finally the wide, endless sea. All rivers run to the sea. Today you brought water, poured it into a common bowl. Though our experiences have differed, these waters mingle, signifying our common humanity. Today you came and shared in this sacred community. May you depart this sacred space, hearts filled with hope for new beginnings, a fresh start. Go forth, but return to this community, where rivers of tears may be shed, where dry souls are watered, where your joy bubbles, where your life cup overflows, where deep in your spirit you have found in this place a home. All rivers run to the sea. Amen, and blessed be. I like it when you say amen back to me. That's cool.
Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Estrela, a música do ar voa além do infinito e vai buscar um sorriso, o brilho do olhar, declamando uma poesia de uma música estação, um sonhar lindo como uma flor de nobre coração. Cante comigo, vamos amar, somar e dividir a uma estrela linda que nos faz sorrir. Estrela, a música do ar, voa além do infinito e vai buscar um sorriso, o brilho do olhar, declamando uma poesia de uma música estação, com tanta emoção, um sonhar lindo como uma flor de nobre coração. Cante comigo, vamos amar, somar e dividir a uma estrela linda que nos faz sorrir. Estrela, a música do ar, infinito, sorriso, clamando uma poesia de uma música estação. De nobre coração, cante comigo, vamos amar, somar e dividir. Estrela sorri de amor, sorri, sorri. That's it.